Cook smart, cook safe, and cook fun. And hey guys, welcome to Nom Nom Nerd, where we cook smart, we cook safe, and we cook fun. We are going to be talking about taters. Potatoes come in many different ways, like French fries, hash browns, and different varieties such as sweet potato and rustic. And we are going to have Eric show us a little something.
Yes, that's right, guys. We're going to be taking these innocent, sweet little potatoes, these russet potatoes, and turning them into a delicious potato soup.
This bud's for you.
So guys, we're going to get ready to start the potato soup, and here's what we're going to start with. First off, you want to get yourself about 5 to 7 potatoes, depending on sizes, of course, and we're going to have these cleaned here after a bit. Then you're going to want to have some cheese. We're just going to use some good old block processed cheese because it's easier to use. So there's that. Cubed ham. This was off a big old spiral bone-in ham that we just decided to cut up into cubes, so we're going to use in that. Onion, which we're going to dice up into small pieces. That goes in there for extra flavor. More pork in the form of ham, or bacon. We're going to cut this up into small pieces to throw in as well. Worcestershire sauce, everybody's favorite word because nobody knows how to say it right, for flavor. We're going to use instant non-fat dry milk. We're going to add water, make it into milk. This way it gives a better flavor, a richer flavor than most of your pre-made or your standard milk that you get. We're going to add just a little bit of peppered gravy into it. Why? Thickness. And then of course a little bit of flour as well, again for the concept of thickness. So let's go ahead and get started here right now. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started cutting these. Now I've already washed these, as you can see, and we're just going to use a good old knife. You don't have to have a special knife. We're going to get these cut down into a decent size. Now this is going to take a little bit, so we're just going to have to get one started here right now. You cut these any way you want, really. I'm just doing it in this method. It's just easier. The knife's not the greatest. I do apologize that it's going to be kind of shaky and everything. Plus, I don't always cook and talk to a camera every time either. Now, I'm using a glass cutting board right now because, one, it is cleaner and safer. Now, we're not going to be using any types of meats that are needing to be cut or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about the cross-contamination. Again, cooking smart. So in this situation, though, it just makes it easier. It's easier to clean up, and I like using it. Now in this situation, we're not going to use a bowl. We don't need to necessarily worry about anything too much right now. We're just going to put these right into the pot. Keep in mind that we haven't added any water yet, because the important thing is we got to boil these and get them tender. So you don't want to have potato soup with raw potatoes. And if you try cooking it with just as they are, you could end up burning or making the soup itself taste pretty bad, because you don't want to have milk cooking for too long, because it will curdle from the heat and become rotten. Not exactly the best taste in the world. So let's go ahead and get the rest of these. I have about 4 more besides this one to cut, and we'll get those all good to go. Alright, so we got the potatoes done, and they're in the pot right over here off camera, and they are boiling. They're getting ready to boil. So what we're going to work on next is the onion. Now don't cry, it's okay. We're going to get this taken care of really good and easily. We just got to get the skin off of this, of course. So we're going to cut off one end like that, and then from there just peel off all the yuck and that one extra layer. Get that down to there. Let's see here. What I like to do, I don't worry about how many layers I have to lose or whatever. I just get down in there, take off a layer, peel it away, no big deal. However, this onion's being a bugger and is not wanting to cooperate on letting me peel it a little bit. But we'll get it done. Alright, this is a good onion because I can already get the sensation of wanting to cry already. Yay! Now everybody has a different method of cutting onions. I don't really care. I'm just going to cut it down a little bit. And make a loud noise. You gotta be careful, it gets slippery. And of course, like I said earlier, a good onion will make you cry. And that does impact your vision. So yes, be very careful. Now I'm going to have this put into a bowl here momentarily once I get this all cut down. You know, people are looking at me going like, oh my god, that is not the way to chop onions, Eric. But that's just because I got little extra pieces here off the side I need to get done. And we don't want these too fine, but we don't want them too big either, because we do want them to be in the soup. Alright, here we go. And we don't need a terrible lot of onion. The amount I have right here should be just fine for putting into the soup. Just for flavor, again, like I said, we're not actually wanting to overtake. Interesting little tidbit for you guys. Take away the essence of what makes an onion spicy and causes you to cry. Onions, apples, and potatoes all actually taste exactly the same because they all have starch. It's just that there is a chemical makeup within them that makes them slightly different. Don't believe me? Google it. And who said this show couldn't be educational? I'm missing my bowl that I have right here because I'm looking through a veil of tears. The onion told me a very sad story about how his mom was a turnip. Very sad beginnings. Seriously, can you see that? I'm crying. Yeah, it's making it very difficult, and I honestly have to say a little bit unsafe to cut. But the wonderful thing is, that is the end of the onion. I'm passing the onion off the camera this way to the bag so I can stop getting it in my eyes and stuff. So we're going to set this onion over here off to the side out of the way, and we're going to get this mess cleaned up, and I'm going to stop crying. Alright, so next up, we got the onions and potatoes going. The onions are off to the side. I've stopped crying finally. Next up, we're going to cube up some cheese. Now the cheese is actually going to go directly into the soup, simply for texture, flavor, and also add some density to the mix. So let's go ahead, and I've also cleaned off my knife, sort of. I forgot to do that. So let's go ahead and do that now, and let's cut into this cheese. That's just a really bad joke. Alright, so we'll put that piece over there, and just cut right down the middle. And this, we don't really need to worry too terribly much about cube sizes or anything like that, because this is just going to go directly into the soup. It's going to melt away, and we're not going to really notice, you know, whether or not I cut it equally or in the right sizes. So let's just put you right there and bust this down. Here we go.
Always remember, when handling sharp knives, you use a parent or supervision. Never handle a sharp knife alone, children.
That's right. Listen to the disembodied voice. Knives are dangerous, and only professionals should be using them, or an adult. Sometimes the adult and the professional isn't necessarily the same thing, so you should always make sure that you keep the blade away from you, like I do here. Where my fingers are going, there is the sharp edge out here, whereas the dull end is right here. So this way, if something slips, I'm not coming back in on myself. And if you're not comfortable using sharp objects and you don't want to, do that whole fancy thing like on TV, well, you don't have to. Nobody says you have to cut like that. I mean, you saw how I cut the onions and the potatoes. I'm no Gordon Ramsay, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am. So just cut comfortably, safely, and ensure that you're not cutting your fingers when you're supposed to be cutting the cheese. Wah wah. Yes, folks, we are not above fart jokes on all of our shows. So as you can see, I'm just cutting down, making large slices, and putting this off to the side. Again, all this is going to go into our soup. Alright guys, so we've gotten past the cheese, we've gotten past the onion, and we got past potatoes. But as you can see here, our ham, I've already cubed up a couple days ago and zip-locked it nice and tightly. Next up is bacon. Everybody loves bacon. So let's go ahead and open up this bag and get it started. Now, when it comes to bacon, there is no wrong kind of bacon necessarily. We're just using some standard classic cut style, naturally hickory smoked bacon. What we're gonna do with this is we're gonna just get out about a nice little handful. It doesn't have to be specific, but not too much, of course. I've got about 6 or 7 pieces right here. We're gonna cut these in half just so it's easier to cook inside of my skillet. We're going to get these all nice and brown. We're not going to fully cook them where they're crunchy, where some people like it that way. We're just going to get them cooked up just right, so this way we can cut them up into smaller pieces and throw into the soup. The reason why I'm going to leave them this way, just for easier sake, but after that, that's all the cutting we have left. Alright guys, so as you can see here, we have the potatoes actually boiling away here. Now I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit because they have been boiling. And something I didn't mention earlier when we got started is seasoning. Now in this is just salt. Now these are still hard, so they're going to be cooking for a little bit longer. And I took them off of total high, but turned it down just a little bit to keep it going. So we're going to leave these be. And in the meantime, as I showed you earlier, it's bacon time. So we're going to throw some slices of bacon in here and get those started. And you're going to hear that wonderful bacony sizzle, as you can hear right there going. Now, when it comes to the milk and all that stuff, we're going to do that a little bit later, off camera. You don't necessarily need to see us making dehydrated milk into hydrated milk. Not very exciting. Just stirring, pouring, mixing, measuring. You know, the usual stuff. Of course, I don't measure. That's the interesting thing, folks. I am not a measuring kind of guy when it comes to cooking. I don't see this kind of cooking doesn't require measurements exactly. You know, you can be general, like a pinch of salt or whatever. Baking, on the other hand, is a different story. Baking is a science. You have to be specific, because if you add too much of something or not enough of something, you mess up. So, as you can see, some of the magic is going, and this is it. Nothing too exciting, watching bacon sizzle. Unless, of course, you know, you really want to watch that sizzle. Alright, well, with the magic of editing, we went on ahead and sliced or diced up the rest of the bacon, and we got it going here. Potatoes are actually done. So here, we're going to finish up our bacon, and we're going to throw it all together and make the proper potato soup. Alright, so now we got this delightful looking sink. Why are we at the sink, you're wondering? We need that. We're going to make the milk and all that. I know I said earlier I wasn't going to show you, but I feel like boring you a little bit. So we're just going to fill this up about 2 cups. Dump that in there like that. I'm going to fill it up with about 2 cups. Dump it in like that. We don't need that running anymore. At this point, we're going to take this, and on the back here, we're going to follow the instructions at least a little bit. And we're going to do about 2 cups worth of dry milk, which turns out to be the remainder of my bag. And we'll dump it right on in there like so. There's just a little bit left in here, waste not, want not, because, you know, we don't want to waste it. So once you get it in here, we'll just mix it up here real quick. I am going to add just a little bit more milk to it because remember, or water I mean, because do not forget we're going to be doing something with a little bit of gravy mix to get it going. Now, here's my whisk. Now, most people don't like dry milk like this, but I have to tell you, if you add a little bit of sweetener to it, honey, water, or sugar, whatever, it does actually make it taste pretty good. So, just a little tidbit for you regarding dried milk. Alright, so we got everything over here. I'm moving our potatoes to the here. As you can see, our bacon is ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just dump it right on in here like so. I already filtered off a lot of the grease, because you don't want grease or too much grease in your potato soup, simply because of the fact that it's going to cause a lot of floatage. I'm going to put that over there in our sink. Next up, we're going to add in our onions like so. Our delicious ham. That is good ham. Dump the whole bag in there. That's about a pound, maybe 2, of ham. I love ham. Ham is good. I'm just kind of mixing it all up right quick, getting it all situated in there. Here is our dehydrated milk. We're just going to pour that right on in there. Now that's quite a bit of milk. I'm going to add a little bit of water, and I'm going to add in a little bit of flour and then a little bit of gravy that I had, just to help thicken it up a little bit, but we're going to do that a little later. But here's the thing I did not mention earlier to you guys, is the key importance of spice. Now the great thing is, we don't need a lot of spice with this. First off, a little bit of Worcestershire. You don't want to use too much, honestly. Just sprinkle in a little bit, like so. It adds like a nice savory flavor to it. Gives it a deep, rich flavor. Then we're going to use a little bit of basil, but not too much. Sprinkle it on top. Then we're going to dump in a little bit of garlic powder. Now you can use garlic powder or garlic cloves. We're going to stay away from the garlic cloves today's episode, because they can be a little overpowering if you don't know what you're doing with garlic cloves. Then on top of that, we're going to add a little bit of parsley flakes. And this gives it a different dimension with flavor. Not too big, not too much, just right amount. Last off, we're not going to use too much pepper in this because of the fact that the gravy that we're going to use is a country style peppered gravy. So we're going to get that in there, and that's good to go. And we are pretty much on the line that we like sea salt in this house. Also, kosher salt is fine. Any salt really is okay. But sea salt, this stuff is magical. Just a little bit of sprinklage of that in there, and at this point, just got to mix it up a little bit. Now you're probably asking, hey, your cheese, it's over here. What are you going to do with that? Don't worry about that. That's going to come a little bit later, added to the mix when we get it to a boil and when we're trying to thicken it up. So at this point, we're going to turn on the heat to about, on our dial where it goes low to high with a 1 through 9 between, we're going to set it to about a 6. That's going to bring the temperature up slowly. It's going to allow it to cook in. All that flavor from the spices, the bacon, the little bit of bacon grease is still in there, the onion, it's all going to blend at this point. So we're going to let it sit here, do its thing, and we're going to come back to it after a bit. Alright guys, so as you can see here, this pitcher is back in play. Inside of this is a mixture of the gravy, the flour, and about 2 cups of water. And I'm just mixing it up, making sure everything is ready. We're going to add it to this, and then we're going to put this on a high boil. This way it'll thicken everything up and get everything going. So let's go ahead and add the mixture in. Okay, we got everything in. As you can see here, the cheese is right there. Now we're going to be adding this after a bit, but right now we're just going to turn this up to about a 9, just shy of ultimate high. We're going to mix this together so this way it'll start thickening up And then we're going to add the cheese to give it that depth of flavor and texture. Alright, so we've added the gravy and we've been sitting here letting it boil. I'm going to turn it back down again. As you can see, it's got a nice thick consistency at this point. And as far as the flavor goes, it's delicious. So put that off the side. At this point, we're going to take our cheese and start adding this. And just get it broken up because it's been sitting there for a little bit, and get it all mixed in. There we go. I'm going to use all of it. That I don't eat. And then we're going to just mix this right on in. Now this won't take long to melt down, and once it's melted down properly, we'll have it mixed in. It gives it that wonderful cheesy flavor because, come on, bacon and cheese, ham, potatoes. Yeah, I know you're not going to disagree with me on this one.
There is no wrong way to make a delicious potato soup. The way we did it with the potatoes, the cheese, the ham, the bacon, oh God, it's so good. There is many ways to make a good potato soup, and there's many different ingredients that you could put into it. This was Eric Schuetz's way to do it, and it was really, really delicious. Remember, you guys can always try these recipes out for yourself and tweak them to your liking. Now remember guys, you can find us online at www.notesandnerds.com or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google at /NotesandNerds, or you can check us out on our Patreon page where you can give a little to get a lot back, and you can be a one-time sponsor or a monthly sponsor to Patreon. The links are below, so make sure to check that out, and don't miss any of the past episodes of Nom Nom Nerd or any other Notes and Nerds entertainment show, like Notes and Nerds, Retro Gaming Nerds, Music Hour with Nathan Smith, and always the Nom Nom Nerd. So until next time guys, cook smart, cook safe, and cook fun.